Target.
Stay on target. Stay on target. We are live. We are live. All right. Yeah. All right. Hey, a corrupt banking clan, a secret separatist alliance, a jealous Jedi Knight with serious trust issues. Just how far is Anakin willing to go to keep his darkest emotions in check? We've got all that and more this week. It's the Clone Wars Season 6, Episodes 5, 6, and 7. This week on your Star Wars Safe Space. Stick around. Hey there, Star Warriors. Welcome to Star Wars Safe Space, your non-toxic, low-sodium Star Wars show that doesn't make you feel bad for not knowing that the banking clan's leader, San Hill, was actually present at General Grievous's transformation on Geonosis and later executed by Darth Vader in Revenge of the Sith. That poor bastard. So whether you're a hardcore fan or just a little swarzy curious, this is your Star Wars Safe Space. And we are the Circle of Nerds, and we do absolutely love Star Wars, even if we don't always like it. So let's go around the table here and meet the crew, shall we? From parts unknown, it is T to the Oni.
Welcome back to the galaxy, everybody. We got a lover's quarrel coming up here.
Oh boy, do we. And captain of the infamous Parma Flyer, it's Crash.
Hey, everybody, get those S-foils locked and ready to go. We got a good one tonight.
Man. Woo! All right. So what are we doing here? Our mission is to watch all of the canon Star Wars films and TV shows in chronological order, breaking them down, connecting the dots, and learning more about Star Wars and maybe even a little about ourselves along the way. And a word of warning to all you would-be Star Warriors out there will be spoilers. So be prepared for that. As I mentioned, we are discussing the Clovis arc, episodes 5, 6, and 7. But before we really dive into that, a big rest in peace to Commander Thorn. He's on the wall because damn. Commander Thorn went out like a boss. He almost made the thumbnail this week. I almost put him on there because he just, last words, man, he had that Gatling for the Republic, just taking him out.
That was every gamer's best way to go. You just got the biggest gun you got. You're just spraying as much as you can till they get you.
That's it. He did. Oh, we got Grainy there. R.I.P. Thorn. So he's definitely getting the wall of remembrance, man. And it's like I knew it was coming, but when we see the Separatist landing, you just know that these poor guys, they're just going to be wiped out. And a really big special fuck you to Dooku, because as he walked by Thorn, he kicked his arm out of the way, and then as he was leaving, he kicked one of the clone troopers in their heads. And it's like, come on, man. We understand Dooku. We get it. We get why he went from where he was to where he is now. We understand how he got there. But come on, my guy. A little respect for our brothers.
And the worst part of it is, he knows what Palpatine is doing.
Yeah.
So, he knows these guys aren't even really his enemy. They're just pawns. He knows that they're pawns, and he just doesn't give a fuck anyways.
Well, he sauced his own senator. There was the guy from the Separatists there, and he used Padme to shoot him.
Yes.
With their own gun, and it's like, that's your guy. And it just shows that, there's Separatist Dooku and Sith Dooku, and Sith Dooku don't care about nobody.
No. And it's just, and then to have Padme do, poor Padme, but again, with her, we're going to get into this. We're going to talk about if maybe she had crossed some lines here. I get that she, and I agree with what Anakin said. When he comes to see her, when she gets arrested and he comes to see her, and he says, whenever you're in these situations, it's always for the Republic, and it's like, you know what, Annie, you're kind of not wrong there. And and I don't know if you guys noticed, I had to run it back, but when she's in that cell and the door opens and Anakin's shadow is there, it looks like Darth Vader. It was such a cool thing. Like if you didn't notice it, go back and watch it. Just watch that part, and you'll see as soon as that door opens, Anakin's shadow has that distinctive Darth Vader silhouette to it.
Well, it's like that great episode 1 poster they did with the young Anakin on the side of the dome.
Yep. And it kind of was reminiscent to Vader going into Leia's cell in A New Hope. So you kind of had that going on. But so let's talk about this a little bit. Let's talk about Padme. She clearly had feelings for the guy. Maybe not romantic. I don't think that she would have cheated on him. She makes the poorest wardrobe choices. Like, okay, you went out on a date with Clovis. You know he's into you. You go to the opera. You go back to the apartment for drinks and a little charcuterie board, and you're wearing a version of the choker dress. You're wearing a version of the let's just be friends dress. Padme, come on, you've got outfits that cover you from head to toe, and you not wear those around Clovis. And then poor Anakin has to see, and she said no. She said no to the man. No means no. He tried to kiss her and, sneak up on her. I get it. Anakin had to see it. But she needs to make better wardrobe choices. I'm just saying. Granny says Padme kind of feels like she's also a pawn of Pal. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt. No doubt. We get to see Palpatine in this particular arc at his slimy.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, what do you guys think about this? So some of Padme's choices here, do you think they're justified? Did she make some poor choices? Do we think that she would have, maybe stepped out on Anakin, even though she kind of told him he needs to take a break? Yes.
Well, my thing with that was because I was going to bring that up too, and I was like, okay, ladies, Uncle Crash here. I have some advice. If you're trying to keep your secret marriage to a Jedi Knight a secret, and you have to go out with a guy who clearly wants to hook up with you because he's like been hitting on you for years, even in the E.K. Johnson books, the first time she meets Clovis professionally, he tried to put a move on. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, girl, I understand there's a certain Coruscanti fashion trend.
But come on.
Do you not have a pantsuit? Do you not have just something a little that says, this is a work thing? No, you picked the slinkiest sex. Right. So the costumers call that fireplace scene dress the Spank Me Amidala.
The Dommy Mommy dress.
and you picked the ones, you went one sexy wrap over in the closet and went, no, I'm going to go with this guy. Like, clearly we're not pregnant yet because this thing is just shrink wrapped on her. And this guy wants to make a move. And again, we all know cosplay is not consent. But I'm just like, girl, Uncle Crash is telling you, wear the pantsuit next time to the opera with the guy is a creep and wants to like hook up with you. If you don't want him to find out you're married.
So I'm going to go a slightly different take on this and say, is it intentional? Like, we know she doesn't really want to hook up with him, but is it a way to manipulate him?
So, like, maybe she's
some feminine wiles.
Yeah, like she's well aware of his interest in her, and it's I'm going to keep saying no, but if I keep looking tempting, you're going to keep trying to make your move, and as a result, giving me what I want.
Because she didn't want to even have him be the representative at the first meeting with the banking client. As soon as he showed up, she's like, "No, I need another guy." Because this dude, she was already trying to get rid of him, and they sort of just forced him on her professionally.
Right, but that first meeting, she was not wearing the Dami dress.
Right. But
it's only after he got involved that she starts.
her robes are like up to her neck, down to her feet. She's got the weird headdress on. It's. Just wear what you wore when you were the queen. Just the big hat, the big shapeless, formless, gowns and robes. But no, she wears, the super hot, that's her let's be friends dress. That's it. That's her whole vibe. That's her whole let's be friends, attire. Because she did it to Anakin and she did it to Clovis. But Clovis stepped too far. Clovis should not have put hands on. And Anakin, man.
Clovis is dumb.
Clovis is dumb.
It's something that, like, I swear my social media feed has me linked in now. Like 3 different times in the last week, I came across a skit of somebody playing up the fight me without your powers, and it's the you do understand Anakin without his powers will still destroy you, correct?
I mean, you gotta give it to Clovey. I mean, he's got spine. I mean, to even consider going at it with Anakin, a battle-hardened Jedi master, or let's even take the Jedi out of it, battle-hardened soldier. Like you said, I mean, even without the lightsaber and the force powers, Anakin's gonna give it to you. And Clovis got in some licks. Not gonna lie, Clovis got in some blows.
As a hockey guy, I was tapping my sticks on the board. That was a good fight.
It was not a bad fight, but then he threw that jab, and Anakin caught it with his cybernetic hand, and that was kind of a wrap on Clovis. But then Anakin still, he ended up defaulting to the choke at the end anyway. I mean, so Anakin reached, but he was pounding them, and that's where we
like there's a point in there. If you guys have seen the movie Fight Club,
yeah,
there's a point in the fight between Anakin and Clovis where it's very reminiscent of the fight where he's beating the blonde kid.
Oh yeah,
Fight Club.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if they pulled from that.
Yeah, I don't know what the timing is like, but there's like you look at that going, you might literally kill him right now if you don't stop.
So in terms of this fight, do we think that it was justified? It was absolutely Jedi breaking. I mean, this is not Jedi behavior, but was Anakin justified to go that hard on Clovis? Or is this just another indicator towards his descent to the dark side?
I think this was like a first, I don't want to say a breaking point, but definitely fracturing of his Jedi upbringing. We've seen him in the movie say, this isn't the Jedi way. He knows the right thing to do. It's just his emotions get out of hand. And I think I love the part where the medic droid, the Separatists slip a medic droid in, is they just heard Clovis got his ass whooped at Padme's apartment to go, I am a servant of Count Dooku. Like, right. I will never trust an urgent care nurse again. Because if I'm busted up from a fight and all of a sudden, like, oh, hey, the leader of the Separatist army wants to, blackmail me to flip the script on this thing while they're bandaging, like, you're not safe anywhere. You're not safe in the medic's tent. You're not safe on the toilet. These people will get to you if they want. And I'm like, forget that.
Like, you're in the boudoir of a high-ranking Republic senator, and you've got this spy droid in there. So they can get to you wherever you want. Mm-hmm. So obviously all of this was orchestrated by Palpatine to fracture, as you had said, Crash, to fracture Anakin even more. Palps knew exactly what he was doing by putting Padme and Clovis together and, starting to plant those little seeds in Anakin and then sending Anakin in to help out. Mm-hmm. So it's, again, Palpatine, but anyway, was it justified? Was Anakin justified to whoop Clovis's ass in such a fashion?
To me, we talk about a breaking point, and I think there's a correlation I have to draw here. If I were Anakin, I'd have fought him. But I would have like I said, it reaches that point where it's all right, you've won, and you're still attacking.
He's still going.
You're
Yeah,
still trying to kill him.
he was going to town.
At that point, he's gone too far. But honestly, I think the bigger breaking is his conversations with Padme, where it's I'm your husband, I order you, and it's like whoa.
Yeah. He said I demand. He said he used the D word. He said I demand.
He pulled the I am the man of the family. You know, and their marriage is always, you know, this couple has always been. It's on shaky ground. You know, they're trying to keep this thing a secret. If Clovis could figure out just from like a couple probing questions of Padme, she must have for a senator, she must have the worst poker face in the galaxy. If you're going to have a secret marriage, and Clovis can, just by pushing away and being shocked when Anakin shows up while he's trying to kiss you, I can put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, of
like
course.
You know, and it's like, okay, you guys got to have a better cover story than we're just friends who go on long trips together, and every time there's a mission together, we get paired up, and it's I think Palpatine, if he's not using Clovis to break Anakin's resolve, he's definitely using Clovis to break Anakin's bond with Padme.
Oh yeah,
and this is the part where I think he's starting to like really try to not just tug on the heartstring, but he's trying to cut him.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to shake Anakin and create more conflict and more confusion than Anakin's already experiencing. I mean, because that's the only way that he's going to get him. Mm-hmm. And he has to completely break Anakin in order to bring him over to the dark side. And he knows it, because Anakin he's not weak-willed, but when it comes to love, that is his absolute Achilles heel. I mean, without question. I mean, that's when you use the love card on Anakin, he's very easy to manipulate or have his buttons pushed.
And be careful, you try to ride that bull too long, it's going to buck you. I mean, look how Anakin, when Padme got arrested, and let's not forget, Clovis set up her handmaiden to take the fall for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that, when she gets arrested, and again, they don't send Obi-Wan, they don't send Kit Fisto, they don't send Aayla Secura. No. Anakin, it's like that Harry Potter. Why is it whenever Padme's in trouble, I find you three? Only it's just Anakin. But it seems Palpatine was manipulating Padme circumstances to create a divide between her and Anakin. This was more than just a lover spat. This was almost really trying to break up the marriage in real time.
Yeah, or at least strain it. I don't know if Palpatine's intention was to break them up, or but I think it was his intention was to definitely strain it and put Anakin on even more emotionally shaky ground than he already was. And kind of pivoting off of that, let's talk a bit about that moment with Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan comes to him. That was a great scene. Obi-Wan is essentially begging Anakin to tell him the truth. I think at this point, Obi-Wan 100% knows.
Yeah.
Maybe not that they're married, but he definitely knows that they're romantically linked and involved. And I mean, he even said, you already know about my feelings for Satine, and at this point, obviously Satine's already, gone, so, I mean, how hard was that for him to bring up to Anakin? But I don't know. I felt that he was basically just begging Anakin to tell me, I'm your brother. Tell me, like.
I on my notes, I literally wrote it down. It was like Obi-Wan and Anakin, the talk. This, and I've always there's a great book about Obi-Wan and Anakin's time, as a Padawan, called Brotherhood. Because there's always been this myth that Obi-Wan and Anakin had a father-son relationship. Qui-Gon was the father figure.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the older brother was guilted into raising his younger brother, and that's why when Obi-Wan tells Luke, I tried training him, I was wrong, because this was one of those moments I feel where Obi-Wan was trying to be the parent, and the big brother, or to Anakin, and just sort of, all right, look, I can tell this is bothering you.
Mhm.
Yeah, just tell me what's going on. Like when later on when Padme tells Anakin, maybe Obi-Wan, he's family to them. He's not just a master. He's not just a Jedi. He's Uncle Ben.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that was a great scene for an animated episode, to just show two characters literally saying, "Look, tell me what's bothering you. I can see it."
But and Anakin just
clammed up.
He did. He clammed up, and I really loved that scene. That's just such a great scene, and because Obi-Wan put himself out there to Anakin, and he was like, "Come on, buddy, I'm giving you this. Just give me a little something. We're brothers. We can talk to each other. Yes, I'm here for you. Come on."
And I love how Anakin of all the Jedi we've seen, their private chambers, he's sort of got the dorm room. He's got the pod racing poster.
I love that. I love that. The Sebulba pod racing poster on there.
And the crates formed into like a futon for him to lounge on. I mean,
yeah.
That was a college dorm room if I ever saw one.
Oh, 100%. But that's his sanctuary. Yeah. That's where he goes because he like he had said before when he was a kid, I've always been good at fixing things. And so that's where he goes, fuck Jedi meditation. His meditation is taking things apart, putting them back together, making repairs, doing those things. And I loved seeing that. I loved seeing the pod racing poster was like the coolest thing. I agree. I absolutely love that. But I just, and again, we see Obi-Wan shouldering that burden of being a Jedi, even telling Anakin, you've got to, I know you love her. I know you care about her. You know that I loved Satine, but we're walking a different path, and you've got to let Padme go on her path, and you've got to go on yours, because I'm sure he has to feel Anakin slipping every day. He has to, because at this point in the story, Palpy is pushing him more and more and more, and we're coming to that end, of course, but he's feeling it. Yoda felt it a couple times. He felt Anakin's anger, just mentioning Clovis's name. There was, I think, a couple scenes where Yoda was like, oh shit. So, and that brings me to my next question. Are the Jedi ignoring obvious red flags with Anakin again? How much blame do they share for what's coming? I mean, Yoda feels this. He may not know fully that Anakin is involved in a mutual relationship. Yoda might think, well, maybe, Anakin just has strong feelings for her. Maybe they're reciprocal, maybe they're not. But he knows something's there. So, I mean, are the Jedi ignoring this? Yoda must have felt when Anakin was beating the shit out of Clovis. I mean, so again, is this part of that Jedi ignorance / arrogance thing that cycle they're caught in? What do you guys think?
In this particular case, they are absolutely, I don't even know that they're missing the red flag. I think they're willfully ignoring the red flag.
Really?
And I don't think it's arrogance. I think in my field wow. Let me try that one again. We refer to this as warm body syndrome.
Okay.
Like, the Jedi are already ridiculously outnumbered, trying to win a war that they shouldn't be fighting in the first place. They need capable soldiers. And Anakin is one of the most capable ones out there.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
So they're just going, listen, we know this is fucked up, but we can't replace him. So we're just going to ignore it. Because what other choice do we have?
I mean, in this case, it was essentially guard duty. They could have I mean, I know
they could have sent any Ayla Secura.
Anyone.
Just send anyone.
That's not my point. I mean, first off, I think Anakin would have forced his way into that mission regardless.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But it's more to the point of if they actually like, if this is, you know, from everything we've been taught as far as, you know, the Jedi rules against attachment, it's not just he shouldn't be on this mission, it's he shouldn't be a Jedi. He should be expelled from the order the same way they attempted to do to Ahsoka.
A long time ago.
They cannot do that to him. They can't. They can't afford to lose him as a soldier in this war.
Yeah, so if that's the case, that's a tough position to be in.
Exactly.
But I mean, but that choice is, I mean, ultimately it ends up making everything worse.
Of course.
I mean, do you think it's the right choice? I mean, knowing how things happened, was it the right choice or is it the only choice? We talked about this last week where the Jedi were pushed into this destiny by Palpatine where there was no escape and they didn't even realize it. There was no other direction they could have gone because Palpatine had planned everything out so meticulously.
And this
is this one of those situations?
At this point, it's too far along. Like, even if the Jedi did decide to expel him, he would just turn around and start working for Palpatine directly.
Directly, yeah.
So like that's all that would happen because what else is he going to do?
So there is no do you see any like alternate reality? You know, if we're going to start exploring multiverse type shit, is there any path that you can see where the Jedi and Anakin could have come out on top?
I've said this before and I will say it again. The Duel of the Fates made that call. The only alternative reality that I can see is if Qui-Gon survived and Qui-Gon became part of the council because his influence would have pushed things in a different path. Not just for Anakin, but for Ahsoka and for everybody else. If Qui-Gon is a master on the council, there is no way in hell Ahsoka gets booted. None.
That's fair. So you're saying that right? So you're saying that the literally the key to all of this, the key to the fall of the Jedi and to Anakin was Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yes.
Out of everything else that's happened that could be rerouted, you know, using the multiverse, this one thing, Qui-Gon Jinn's death, had that not happened, that is the one event in the history of Star Wars that would have averted all of this.
There is a reason it is called the Duel of the Fates, because the fate of the end result of that battle determined Anakin's fate.
Have you ever played chess and when you lose your queen and you have no way of just defending your king from attacks from every side? I totally agree with you. I think Qui-Gon was the key to Anakin's fate, and clearly when he died, and you know, like I said, Dooku, confronted Palpatine about it. We saw it on that one Tales episode, where he's like, he was upset, like you didn't have to let Maul kill my apprentice,
right?
Because he thought he could bring him over to their side in the Clone Wars, which would have been an interesting possibility. But it's that thing where at that point it was checkmate in 3 moves. It didn't matter how long it took. Palpatine took their most valued piece, Qui-Gon, off the board, and there was just no way to protect Anakin from all sides, especially for the Jedi Order. We've talked about this on the show a couple times. Sherry likes to bring up the fact that the Jedi are monks; they shouldn't be fighting. Jedi are. There's a great book, Magic of Myth, from the old Smithsonian display. Jedi are kind of a hybrid of a lot of things.
Yeah,
they're part monk, they're part samurai who are warriors and lead armies when needed. I think, and they're also part Western marshals who could that's why they could go off in pairs and to planets and sort of enforce the law of the land.
Right.
So the idea of it, you take one specific icon and say, oh, the Jedi are monk society, they shouldn't be fighting. Well, they're part monk, but they're also part samurai who are trained to fight when needed.
Oh yeah.
But with the right mental discipline. And I think the problem with Anakin is that he was brought in so late in life that he doesn't. You can train him how to lift rocks. You can train him how to fight with a lightsaber. But I think he had too much emotional damage from growing up as a slave to be prepared emotionally for being a Jedi.
Right.
And that was Palpatine's sin.
Now, do we think that Palpatine was keenly aware of Qui-Gon Jinn's importance? And did he send Maul for Qui-Gon specifically? Or was it just take out Qui-Gon or Obi-Wan? Because had Obi-Wan been taken out, that could have changed everything as well. Right? I mean, had Qui-Gon survived and Obi-Wan died, that would have really changed things.
Sure.
You know, just as much as you know, had Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan both lived. But, you know, do you think that Palpatine knew Qui-Gon's importance? Or was it just, you know, a stroke of luck that Maul got him instead of Obi?
I think he knew Qui-Gon's importance, but not necessarily the importance to Anakin, but his importance to the I'm different from the rest of the current Jedi Order. I am different from the rest of the Council. I see things in a different way, and I can see through your bullshit.
Right. Right. Because, yeah, Qui-Gon was not the one to be manipulated or controlled by the Council,
Right.
or anyone else. You know, he was really, really in tune with the living force. So he had a good handle on things. So, you know, I don't know if it's canon anywhere that Maul was sent specifically to kill Qui-Gon. I think he was just there to kill.
Well, at first he was just there to take the Queen into custody. The whole point
he was just there to intimidate, right? I mean, he was just there to
not to intimidate, to take her into custody so they could force her to sign that treaty. Even when they came back to Naboo, I think the point was to separate her from her defenders,
yes,
whether they be the Naboo or the two Jedi who came along, so that she'd be forced to sign the treaty and make the whole thing, you know, legal.
Right.
So I you know, other than the fact that the Jedi were there to protect Padme, I don't think at the time Maul gave two craps about Qui-Gon personally. It was just he was the guy in the way.
Right. No, I agree. I don't think Maul gave a shit. But do you
Palpatine? Palpatine. The whole point was to get Padme to you know, forfeit the planet Naboo, so the Trade Federation would become legalized, and then, you know, his evil plan ravels from there. There's a great thing going around on social media asking, what was, you know, we'll find out later. Darth Maul knows of Palpatine's plans to take over the galaxy, but you think about, like, he wouldn't have fit in the Dooku. He's not a politician. He's not a charismatic type. He's an enforcer.
Right.
You could almost use it. He could have almost been like a substitute for Grievous. You could have put him in front of anybody who's played Star Wars Battlefront.
Mm-hmm.
With the unlocked character of Darth Maul in front of a droid army, knows that he could do some damage.
Oh yeah,
but he's not a political leader. He'd be at best an enforcer, a muscle guy, and
like Vader. Vader was the same thing. Yeah.
He fits in the way we see the plan play out. You know, he fits the later role of Vader. You know, you know, like even when he meets with the Neimoidians in Phantom Menace, you know, here's my guy. I'm sending him instead of me. You'll deal with him. But you know, Maul was a very interesting character because you know, in the first movie, because you needed a villain. You needed somebody who could fight the good guys. You needed somebody who can take Qui-Gon off the board. But I don't know where he would have fit into the grand plan.
I don't think that was ever the intention. I think that he was always, I think, disposable. I think he was a disposable henchman.
Whether he knew it or not.
Yeah, of course. And then once Palpatine found out about Anakin, although Palpatine may have already known about Anakin before we knew about Anakin, You know, he could have been aware of Anakin's existence long before the Phantom Menace. He could have been aware of Anakin's existence at his conception. You know, so, you know, so I have a hard time believing, just because we've seen what Palpatine's capable of, I have a hard time believing that Qui-Gon's death was an accident.
Correct.
You know, I think that on some level, Palpatine must have known the importance of Qui-Gon's influence, and that he was the key to bring Anakin to the dark side, even at 9 years old. But
when he saw little Anakin on Naboo, his eyes lit. You know, that was like, oh my God, there's the golden ticket to my evil plan.
Yeah,
you know?
we'll be watching your career with great interest. Yeah, I bet you will, motherfucker.
And going back to the episodes, you know, it's interesting if you notice, Ian Abercrombie is credited, and you hear him. He's voicing Palpatine in these episodes because these must have been recorded before he died.
Yeah.
And before Tim Curry was brought in to finish the Ahsoka trial arc.
Right.
So it's interesting to hear him, and he was so good. It really breaks your heart when you realize that this was his last role.
Right.
Because he just played that like you said, that slimy, scheming Palpatine. So
his laugh, you know, he's like, you know, the only choice they'll have is to give control of the banks to the Chancellor. And he just, that cackle, it's like, oh, nobody cackles like that except for Mark Hamill doing the Joker. I mean, nobody has that kind of, just like, it makes your skin crawl. Like,
and let's credit the animator, the little side eyes and the little smirks.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody that's like out of Palpatine eyesight, like his, you can see when he's like knows he's in the clear because his face just, you know,
he's, you know what, out of everyone in the galaxy, Palpatine is living his best life, and he is having the best time. People are dying around him. Star systems are collapsing. Economies are collapsing. Entire races and species are being wiped out. And Papa Palpy is just loving every fucking minute of it.
And this arc was the don't play Monopoly with Palpatine. Like, yeah, we've seen him manipulate two armies. We've seen the Separatists try to manipulate planets into joining them. I do want to ask you guys what you thought of this arc with the banking clan and knowing what we know about Atten from Skeleton Crew.
Yeah,
but
I was thinking about that.
It was just kind of an interesting thing watching. You know, he's already manipulated the military. He's already manipulating the governments. To see him using this through Dooku, you know, the amount of information he's relaying to Dooku to like tell Clovis to do, you know, this was the part where, you know, I had another note where I was like, you know, at the end, follow the money. It's a classic line from movies, but
yeah, always.
This was the part where, okay, now he's locking up the galactic money,
right?
And he's going to start building hotels on that Monopoly board, you know.
Now, do you think that it was at this moment that the Republic truly fell? Because now he's, like you say, he's got control of the money now. I mean, there is no going back. You know, I mean, of course he said, you know, once the Clone Wars are over, I'll give everything back. Of course, you know, but was it at this moment where the Republic really truly fell and no one even realized it yet? Or do you think that there's maybe another event, you know, further along the timeline, or maybe the Republic has already really fallen and no one knows it yet, you know? Or was this, once you got, I mean, you've already got both these armies, you know, you've got your pieces, you know, if we're using the chess analogy, Palpatine controls both sides of the board and his pieces are everywhere. So it doesn't matter if he loses here, if the clones defeat, you know, the Trade Federation or the Separatists here, that's fine because now I've got clones there. You know, if the Separatists beat the clones on this planet, that's cool because I've got my Separatists there. So it's always a win-win for him.
Yeah.
You know, but do you think that this is the real moment that the Republic was just finally just locked down, you know, or was it when the Senate was dissolved later on in A New Hope? or did this help him to achieve that? Or is this just one more brick in his Lego Death Star?
It's more than one brick. I don't know that it's the end game, but I mean, basically speaking, the way I interpret it, you've got three main pillars of power. You've got military might, which he has fully in his control.
Yeah, 100%.
You've got the money, which is now fully in his control.
Right.
And then the last thing you have is media. And we've seen little things. They haven't shown a lot of that so far in the series. We've seen little bits and pieces here and there, but the media machine's already in place. It's just not fully ramped up to the degree that we're going to see it come Andor, come Gorman, come all those things that are coming in the future. But it's already there to a certain degree.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's not the end because he doesn't have all of it yet. But when you lose the money, it's that much harder to fight back.
Yeah, what do you do? I mean, what do you do? The money's gone. That's it. The money's gone. And I agree. I think with the media, we do get to see, of course, in Andor season 2, we see how the media is only reporting, it's basically like Fox News is only reporting the things that benefit Palpatine. But, at this time, you're right. I mean, we see a bit of media from time to time throughout the Clone Wars, but I don't think that it's ever really touched on too much. Not in the way that it was in Andor season 2, but now the money's gone. Now there is absolutely no way forward.
And he's like, to stay with the chess analogy, the way he manipulates, blackmails Clovis into flipping on his promise, about as soon as he's in charge of the bank, Dooku tells him, okay, fine, we're not paying our debts and you're going to raise the rates on the Republic.
Yeah.
Which is just it's financial battlefield tactics where you literally have somebody on the inside who's rigging the game financially, which should cripple the Republic because the guy in charge of the Republic's rooting for the other team anyway. He's on both sides.
Yeah. It's kind of like when and I'm just speaking, of course, in hypotheticals. It's kind of like when you appoint people to high-ranking cabinet positions throughout the government that are loyal only to you and not to the Constitution or the people. It's kind of like that. So now you appoint somebody to the bank that, they're not in charge really, on the surface they are, but that person's doing what they're told.
Yeah.
And we saw what happens. This was very much a, this is how liberty dies with thunderous applause types of moments.
And even that, like, going back, I know we're not fully jumping on the Andor review yet, but like Tony said, he caught the last couple episodes of it, and one of the things I found interesting throughout the whole series was the way they portrayed the media, but also the way, like, this was finally the Empire, like, they needed a mineral for the Death Star. First of all, I love the fact that this was the first time in the canon timeline we see the machine of the Empire trying to keep that project under wraps. Like,
right,
they need something on Gorman, so we're going to turn the people against the Gormans so that when we fracture their planet digging this stuff up, no one's going to care.
Right.
And it's great how you can just manipulate the Palpatine in an Empire can manipulate the media to make the people look the other way on what they know is wrong.
Right. Which really does kind of parallel what happens in real life.
Yeah.
Often. So poor Clovis, or maybe not poor Clovis. Was he ever really a villain? Do you think that he was ever really a bad dude? Or was he just another tragic tool and part of Palpatine's master plan? Like, would he have actually reformed the banking clan? Like, to be better, as he had said during the Senate proceedings? Do you think he actually would have done that had he not been under Dooku's thumb? or was Clovis just an ambitious asshole and just thinking about Clovis?
I think he meant well for his people. You know, when he told Padme his not tragic backstory, you know, when he told, look, I grew up here, I was treated like a son. He really cared about the Mune people and the banking clan. He believes in what they are meant to be. Unfortunately, you know, as we see again in real life, you know, people who like to climb the ladder of power sometimes make friends with bad people.
Right.
And eventually those bad people always seem to want to call in the favor they were owed. And it was like I said, that when that droid, I am a servant of Dooku, you know, that Clovis was cooked. There was nothing, you know, he can't give up. You know, he just got appointed to this dream job. Dooku's got leverage on him and just said, look, you're going to do what I tell you, or I'm going to wreck you.
Right. But he was making a lot of poor choices prior to that, well prior to that.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
I tend to agree. I think Clovis was trying to be the best person he could be in a bad world. I mean, let's be honest here. Like, nothing against the Moon people, but I don't think you can be a banking clan and not have some bad parts to you.
Sure.
But I think overall his intentions were good, but his ego got in the way. Like, you know, once Dooku basically, you know, threw the switch and said, okay, this is what you're going to do now. Like, if he was truly good, like truly, you know, a paragon of virtue, he would have just come out publicly. He could have come out publicly and said, hey, this is what's happening. They're trying to manipulate me to do this, but I'm not going to do it. And if they kill me, they kill me. But obviously he wasn't going to do that.
Right. And Padme even said, just turn yourself in.
Mm-hmm.
And instead he put a gun to her head.
No.
And just the idea, you know, his goal was to keep Scipio out of the war. Well, if I understood it right, the banking clan was one of the original members. It's like the Trade Federation, the banking clan. They were there at that meeting on Geonosis. You know, they were involved they were in on the Separatists from the start.
Yes.
Whether publicly or whatnot, but it's just this idea that people think, yeah, well, my ideals are above board, and I want to do the right thing. But the people you represent are doing bad things in the galaxy. You're part of it too if you don't speak up against it, or if you don't, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, like I said, when the Republic showed up, that was sort of Palpatine's checkmate in that, you know, he wanted to keep Scipio out of the war. Well, as soon as Palpatine says, look, they screwed us over on, you know, on the interest rates, so we must invade their planet and we must take it over. And you can just see the clone troopers probably there permanently, and that's how clone troopers turn to stormtroopers later on.
Right. It's like Palpatine is such a dick. Like, but he is such a great chess player. Like you don't want to admire the guy because he is a mass murdering fuckhead. However, it's like he's just so good at pulling multiple strings. It's like, how are you doing this?
And he's got so many, like, again, the chess analogy, he's got so many pawns. You know, we've seen them, you know, Ventress working through Dooku before she was kicked out. You know, we find out in this story, Palpatine, you know, Cad Bane, you know, was getting direct calls from Palpatine. Embo, that first time when he's sniping and missed, I went, you don't miss.
Yeah, no, Embo's too good. He missed a lot in this arc.
That was for show.
Right.
Because then when you see him later on, all of a sudden he's a helmet surfing badass again. And you're like, which was a great, you know, visual, again, for a very boring, this is like the knock on the episode 1 was that, oh, space politics, you know, banking clans,
yeah.
Okay, how about we get in a space toboggans chase with a guy riding a Captain America shield hat?
It was great.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was so much fun. I love Embo. I really wish that we would have gotten more Embo. I would have liked to have seen more about him.
I mean, I know we've had this conversation before about, who's the better bounty hunter? Is it Boba or is it Cad?
Cad. That's not even a question. Why are we asking that question?
I agree, but I have to ask because we haven't seen enough yet. But I think Embo deserves his hat in the ring.
Sure, his gigantic hat. Yes, like I mean, who you could say who wore the hat better? Embo or Cad? I'd have to go with Embo because Embo's hat is functional as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I love that Embo has a puppy.
He's got a puppy. He's got a little cute puppy that retrieves his hat for him. Mm-hmm. It's adorable. Yeah. It's adorable. It's a hat. It's a shield. It's a sled. It's like whatever you want it to be. I would love to get more Embo. Can we get another like Tales of the Underworld?
Yeah, I was really hoping that he was going to have more in that, but
yeah, I mean, but he runs with those other the few others. And we get to see them in Tales.
And we saw, he's part of that crew that works for the Hutts when Savage and Maul show up.
Right. So
it's like he's got regular employers, but I'm sure. But again, he's on Palpatine's speed dial when he needs a quick assassin job.
Yeah, I mean you're pretty high up there when you're on Papa Palpy's speed dial. And we've been hanging out with Embo since what, season 1 or 2?
Yeah, he was part of the Senate heist job.
He was part of the Senate heist, and he was also part of that kind of Seven Samurai-esque episode.
Yeah,
where they were hired to protect the town from, I think it was Hondo's goons, right?
Yeah. And I agree with Tony. I think he's a very interesting character. He's not a fet. He's a little different, and I feel like, and I'll go on a ledge here. I think he's a much better antagonist, non-Sith antagonist for the Jedi than like Dirge or some other the bounty hunters we've got used to getting Legend. I think the problem with Clone Wars was if you didn't have a Red Blade, they needed to create new characters to be pain in the ass for the Jedi. And Embo was a great one because he wasn't a fet. He didn't have a backpack. He didn't have Mando armor, but he was still a badass. And that goes back to like the box when they were showing some of the bounty hunter dregs of the galaxy. These are the guys that get all the kills in the galaxy. And Embo's, he's right there behind Bane.
And he's got to be. I mean, he's got to be one of Dave's favorites. He's a Dave's faves because otherwise he wouldn't use him as much. He would just get any random 2-bit unnamed bounty hunter to throw at Anakin from time to time to as cannon fodder. But Embo keeps coming back. Embo keeps surviving. As far as I know, he survives the Clone Wars. I
actually pulled this up.
Yes, Keeper of the Holocron.
Yes. It says that after the Battle of Jakku, Embo received funding from the New Republic, but when it ran out, he lived as a farmer on Felucia.
Really?
So he survives all of it. Not just the originals, but even the sequels he survives.
All right. Go ahead, Embo. I want to see Farmer Embo. Yeah, that's all right. That's my boy. Just him and his puppy hanging out. Him and his puppy and his hat. Does it say if he found anybody? Did he find a little cutie pie to settle down with, or
does not give me that information, unfortunately.
Just a boy and his dog. What more could you ask for, right? All right. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up. You guys got anything else you want to
No, I think we pretty much covered it.
All right.
For the arc we were talking about. We started kind of going in some deeper directions.
Sure.
I will point out the voice of Embo, voiced by Dave Filoni himself.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that explains a lot. That explains a lot. No wonder he keeps bringing him back because it's him. And he's even got the big hat, just like Dave likes to wear his cowboy hat. All right, Dave Filoni.
We see you.
Dave is one of us, because I promise you, if any of us had the access to the money and the resources that Dave has had, we would do the exact same thing. We would make ourselves characters and put them in there. And he's got an Embo action figure somewhere in his house.
Well, and I think there actually is, I remember at this time when the shows were coming out, Clone Wars sort of got a fuzzy end of the lollipop in terms of marketing, where
Yeah.
when the show first debuted, there was a whole line dedicated to Clone Wars, but after a while, it was like, okay, you got the variations of Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, Dooku. There was always a few of the prominent clones. I'd have to go through. I have a little box of all the loose figures. I think there's an Embo.
There is. I just looked it up. There it is.
Okay, but again, it was such a cool, playable figure that Clone Wars didn't get as much love in the marketing department because the toys at this time were sort of, you were blending between the vintage collection, how many reprints of like Darth Vader do you need versus people arguing about what sells to kids versus what sells to collectors. And I think Clone Wars got a bad rap as sort of being for kids.
I get it. Yeah. And then that didn't get any better once Rebels came out. Rebels was slotted to be even more for kids. And as we know, it ends up.
Yeah, like you said, back here, like there's my Kanan Jarrus collection. Nice. And that was one of those things where like the newer stuff, that came out, especially the animated, just didn't get the respect it deserved.
Yeah. But we'll help change that a little bit because once we start watching Rebels, I know it gets deep. It's not dark and gritty like Andor, but for a quote unquote kids cartoon, TV show, it does deal with some adult themes and it does get pretty deep. So I don't think it's anything that someone between from like ages 12 and up couldn't handle. But I don't know. We'll see. So homework for next week. We're going to be continuing on with season 6, episodes 8, 9, and 10. It's a Jar Jar arc, y'all. So, but don't discount it. Don't turn your nose up at it because this was space politics this week, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I never felt that the pace was too slow for this particular arc. I think that there were some necessary things. We get to see Palpatine. This was foundation building. And I think it was necessary. And so Jar Jar next week, give him a chance. Give our Gungan friend a chance, please. I think you may be pleasantly surprised because Jar Jar's surprised us in the past. I mean, he saved the day. He impersonated a Jedi. He's shown us his acrobatic skills to save the day.
He led a squad of clones.
He led a squad of clones. I mean, what else do you need? Poor Jar Jar. The tragic tale of Jar Jar. We need a wrap up on him too. I know he, ends up as basically a homeless street performer, but I would like to see a nice Scooby-Doo ending for Jar Jar Binks. So I think we need the next tales should be Tales of the Gungans. And I think I would be very happy with that, just to get a final, just to put a final point on the life of Jar Jar Binks. I want to see him somewhere on Naboo with a little cutie pie, maybe a couple little Gungan kids hanging out. It seems like people like to go to the farm life in Star Wars. When they wrap up their adventures, they end up on a farm somewhere. And now that we know that about Embo, it happened to Embo. It cut LaQuain. He ends up on a farm. Din Djarin, I mean, he's not necessarily a farm, but he's on his little homestead. Everybody likes to get that farm life, I guess.
Well, it's either that or you end up like poor Cyril, and can't believe I'm saying poor Cyril having to live with his mom on Coruscant.
Ooh. What a tragedy. What a tragedy. Well, when we get to him, oh, what a tragedy, that guy. Poor Cyril. He didn't deserve that. He was just trying to have a career, move up the ladder a little bit, and then he got caught up in all that nonsense. Oh, man. That was a tragedy. That was a loss. Anyway. All right.
It's something that I don't want to dive too long into this because we'll get to there eventually, but
sure.
I will say it's something that I recognized later, that the parallels between Cyril and Dedra, where it's the, Cyril's whole focus on trying to catch Cassian and just dead-eyed, like even in the middle of all that craziness and Gorman, just like, I see this guy, I'm going after him.
Yeah.
Very much parallels Dedra's dead-eyed focus on Axis and her willingness to ignore all the protocols and everything just to keep going after him regardless of anything else. And makes them a very interesting match.
Yeah, I agree. I would like to see more of her as well. And I hope we do get to see more of her, because as we know, where she's currently being held is not as escape proof as they like to think it is. So maybe we'll see her later on. She was a great character.
Mm-hmm.
She was a great character.
Horrible human being, but
amazing
character.
Right, but she and that's what I think made her so great, is because it's like she's that character you love to hate. Like when you tune in and you watch her, you're just like, ugh. And she had the greatest frown. Like she just looked like a substitute teacher. Like nobody frowns like that unless they're a substitute teachers. It's like I can't do it. I don't think I've ever been that miserable in my life that I'm able to frown like that. But yeah, great character, great actress. Andor just peak Star Wars all the way around. You can't say anything bad about it. And if you do say anything bad about Andor, then we just really can't be friends. We just can't be friends. We just can't do it. All right, anyway, so that's gonna do it for us. We're gonna go ahead, but before we head out, we've got our obligatory pimping that we've got to do. We got to pimp our merch. So of course, head on over to our website, circleofnerds.com/merch, which is up on your screen now for all of our listeners. You get to see that right now, and to all three of our viewers. There you go. And of course, Crash is rocking it. I'm rocking the OG Circle of Nerds shirt. So please go over there and help yourself. Sometimes there's sales too, so there might be a sale. So head on over there, circleofnerds.com/merch. And of course, check us out on all the social medias at the SWS Show. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel and all of that fun stuff. And as always, we want to thank all of our active duty service member and veterans for your service and your sacrifice. We see you, we love you, and we thank you for everything that you do. And you guys have anything on the way out?
No,
I'm good.
No, we're good. All right. So that'll do it for us. And as always, thank you for joining us. And remember, if no one does anything nice for you, do something nice to yourself. And we will see you all next week.
Well, Friday, actually.
Friday. That's right. Because we're doubling up this week. So, because we missed last Friday. Oh, but, yeah, that's right. Thank you for reminding me. That's right. So we'll see you Friday for more of this. And we're going to be discussing, again, season 6, episode 8, 9, and 10. And yeah, I think that's it, right? We good?
See you next time.
See you next time. Bye. Did I not push the button properly?
Push the button.
Push the button. All right. Push the button. Try it again. All right.